little off to the side, I have surface area issues. You know how for people, there's always something they never have enough of: money, time, bedrooms, whatever it is. For me, it's surface area. No matter how big a table you give me, I will spread across it. Oh, we're good. I'm just grinding up magic. See, you mustn't get a clog in your bumpa. Clogged bumpas are bad. So all the magic stuff. This is many pills from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Very precious. During the monsoon, when everyone does retreat, he makes them. And where else do I have good stuff? In here is Mendrup from the wild Yoginis of Kannur. They are quite interesting and extremely wild. Live up in the high mountains. They used to spend the winters down at the low altitude building roads, breaking rock, in order to sponsor their retreats up in the summer, because it's 30 feet of snow in the winter. And unless you're young, it's hard. Once you reach about 40, you don't want to be up there in the winter. So we got most of them sponsored. So now they don't have to break rocks all summer. They can come down to Sopema and do ceremony and get teachings in the summer and go back up and make their retreats again. In the winter, and make their retreats again in the summer. They're building a little monastery, not that far from Sopema, up in the mountains. So they'll have a place to live when they come down, because there's often teachings during the winter. Oddly enough, of all these magic looking things, this little plastic thing is lineage. My teacher got it from one of his teachers. Been around a while. The right sound. There we go. And into the bumper it goes. Just leave that there where I can get it. And let's put this here. Once we start, so that you guys will all be able to see, we'll move it. For now, that's what I can do. Ah, you already brought me a Dorjian bell. I don't have to unpack mine. See what I mean? Surface area. Inevitably. Nice Damaru. Oh, even fits my hand. Beautiful. Such small hands that they're often a little big for me. Let's see how we're doing this one. Like that. How many of you brought your own dorjies and bells? No? Oh, well. Anybody want to play along with me? When I ring the bell, ring the bell. When I play the damaroo, play the damaroo. Damaroo is just going to come up at the end. Now let's see, we have one Serchim. Okay, who wants to do the spirit offerings? Do we have any kids? You'll do them, okay. You know where the land spirits are from here. Okay. Hear the tone change? So translators, here's where you do the merge in the lineage. Okay, so go with me. Chuku kundazombo gompo dorji sempa garab dorji dang. Shiri singi bardu shin labde de dam abzantata tusum chi. Dzogchen jupe lamala solo de. Ergin pema junela solo de. Dorji chang chitelo narodang. Marpa mila gompo tsatsapa. Na pupadang palden drupa suk. Kargil lamanam la solo dev. O Chen Lama Namla Solwa Deb. Dru Chen Lama Namla Solwa Deb. Kaginwari Lama Namla Solwa Deb. Shakilama Namla Solwa Deb. Nyandu Dang Yundrin Lama Namla Solwa Deb. Palkandu Zhongdang Yerme Pa Gun Dorji Jintrak Pa Jetidang Nisume Pa Palamanam Chetente Chong. That part that's not on your paper is me reciting lineages that I have that you may not have. So in there, you would recite the ones that you have, not necessarily just Buddhist, those you honor. It could even be the name of the teacher who taught you to read. Because without that, how could you read the texts? So that would be a Western lineage. You want to include those who taught you along your path things of value to your path. Include them in Guru Yoga because they are your teachers. I have Dr. Shire in there, a Western therapist who, when I was 8, taught me how to fake it as a human being, autistic. Very good teaching. Didn't tell me I was supposed to be a human being, just how to fake it when it was useful. Good guy. Now let's go here next. And let's see if this, so it's not in between you and me, and sit there. And move that back a little bit. So I'll start you with a quote by Longchen Rabjan. The nature of mind is the ultimate sphere, like space. The nature of space is the meaning of the innate nature of mind. In truth, they are not separate. Oneness, the oneness of that, is the great perfection, the Dzogchen. Realize that in this very moment. It's not out there somewhere. You don't have to acquire it. Aspire to it. Be good enough for it. Catch it. Build it. In fact, you don't have to do anything to it at all. The trick to Dzogchen is simply to stop doing things that hide it. It is your own innate nature. It is the nature of all mind. Neither multiplicity, all minds, nor singularity, all mind. Neither of these, nor not both of these, nor not one or the other. One of the keys that you will need to be able to recognize Dzogchen will be not to be bothered by two truths that sound as if they are not the same. neither many nor one. Many sounds like it is different from one. It isn't. I mean, multiplicity is self-evident. Every single leaf on every single tree is different. Every single microbe in your gut making up your biome, which the ecology of which identifies itself as you. Each one of them is different. And yet, no lack of singularity. So we are taught in algebra, if A does not equal B, then B will not equal A. Nope. For example, hair is brown. Brown is not hair. A equals B, but B does not equal A. All those algebraic theorems that they drummed into you in grade school, put them down, they're only true of numbers. They're not true out here. They're like grammar for numbers. Grammar is not real. It is simply useful for communicating. There are neither two truths, relative reality and absolute reality, nor a single truth, the union of the two. So the first thing you need to do is let go of either or and embrace and. Multiplicity and singularity are both obvious and do not disagree with each other. We have two words, sem, mind, which mostly refers to your little mind, the personality, the ego, and semni, which refers to big mind, real mind, the Buddha nature inherent in all life. They are not different things. Don't separate them. The same mind, which filled with perceptions, which are made of sensations, thoughts, and feelings. That same mind, which is filled with all of those, and in fact, it's that clump that make up your personality of the moment. I could change your personality at the moment. May I have a volunteer? You are an absolute idiot. That is the stupidest shirt I've ever seen. You see, now you feel different.
Yeah.
You're having different thoughts.
Yeah.
Actually, that shirt looks really good on you.
Thank you.
It's just the right colors. I like its happiness. Okay, now you feel different again. See, I just added a different set of ideas and thoughts going through in an interaction. And your whole personality became subtly different. And the memories of this occurrence between us will affect all of your future personalities. That's how we become who we are, isn't it? We read books, we watch movies, we interact with friends and enemies. Sometimes it's the same person. We take lovers, we leave lovers, we have pets, cats, dogs, they die eventually. And all of these experiences make us who we are. And you're not who you were at 14. Thank God. Anybody remember being 14? Yeah. An interesting time of life. Don't separate your thoughts, your feelings, and your sensations, all of which together as a clump is your perception. Your perception is made by your mind, made up. When something happens, an occurrence, you have some sensations, you interpret them with your thoughts as a story. We had an interaction. I said some things. You interpreted them according to your own past, your own knowledge of Dharma, your own knowledge of lamas, all of this clumped together to create how you saw what happened. Therefore, to create your experience of it. Thank you for volunteering. It really helps to have someone to bounce it off of who's not scared that I'm going to hit him with a dead fish, because I might. So you don't want to get rid of this stuff. Then you'd just be snuffing yourself out like a candle. I believe that's called arhat. You no longer have suffering. You no longer reincarnate because you're no longer there. Oh, God. In the smaller boat, freeing oneself from suffering is the goal. That's why it's called a smaller boat, not lesser, simply narrower, smaller. By the practice of renunciation, you're getting yourself out of the mess. Great, one less sentient being to have to deal with for the bodhisattvas. In the Mahayana path, it is pointed out to you in such a way that you get to notice it, that since there is no actual thing such as an individual, there is no actual thing such as individual enlightenment. So the idea of getting yourself out of it by yourself, what self? And in fact, through renunciation, it's possible to understand that there is no self, at which point you cease to manifest as a self. All gone. I do not see the goal or the goal. Enlightenment does not feel like all gone because of the interactive interpenetratingness of all the mind streams. Realization of the intrinsic awareness that transcends the mind is the unique teaching of Dzogchen Temple. Look at me. Look out from behind your own eyes. Seer, you are the seer of what you see, yes? The Tibetan word rigpa, which is usually translated as awareness. Rig is the verb to see. I saw him yesterday. Simple verb to see. And pa is a catch-all suffix that in this case means the er suffix, er. because the doer, the deed, and that which it is done to are not separate in Tibetan, it can also mean the deed and that which it is done to. But in this instance, think of it as literally the seer. You want to feel your own rigpa? It's looking out from behind your own eyes. It's not in your head. It's not in your heart. It's not in your liver. When you dream at night, you have no eye organ that's doing anything, that's being stimulated by light. Nonetheless, you see pictures. Feel yourself, both when awake and when asleep, as the seer, the tactile feeler, the smeller, taster. Yeah! Feel your yi. Feel that sensation here? There's a bunch in Western speak, there's a bunch of neural tissue around your gut that is extremely sensitive to neurotransmitters. When I do something to cause you to send certain neurotransmitters like cortisol and adrenaline, which is the easiest one to stimulate suddenly in a group. Sorry, guys in the back, it may not have been that effective on you. You feel a sensation. The yi is a sense organ. Those feelings are sensations. We talk about the six senses, sensations of the six senses. We include sensations of the yi, which are feelings chemically. There's more to feelings than just that, but the chemical part, yi. That's why when you're really stressed, you can't eat. Sympathetic nervous system. That's why in all the Togel positions, something is stimulating the vagus nerve to turn you down into parasympathetic, so it's more relaxing. You're not going to grasp Dzogchen. Any attempt to do so is counterproductive. You're not going to achieve the meditation of Trekcha or the stabilization of Trekcha. All achievements, such as your college degree, wear off when you get senile or die. Whatever you are exceptionally good at in your past life does not always carry over. Well, some of it, but not a lot. You'll have a talent for that. You'll learn it faster. That's the thing with tulkus. Took me 50 years to learn this. A tulku is expected to learn it in 20. As particularly a 2 student. Dzogchen is the swiftest path and the easiest goal to attain. And that's its problem. Too damn easy. Dudjön Rinpoche, to quote Dudjön Rinpoche, the great difficulty of Dzogchen meditation is that it is too easy for many to comprehend. You are obsessed with trying. Stop playing and do your work. How many times have you heard that in your life? Until play is bad and work is good, be goal-oriented, have ambition. Don't just sit there getting stoned. Come on, where's your ambition? Do your term paper. You've been hearing this for a long, do your practice. Don't just be lazy and sit there, do your practice. Don't. You cannot do Dzogchen. Now, for those who won't get this from me telling them about it, I'll take you off in the forest for 3 weeks. And I'll do very strange things to you and make you do very strange things, totally freak you out. And if you all survive, by the end of that time, you'll understand you will have not done. But that's a 3-week retreat. You got to take time off work and come play with me somewhere without poison ivy. Done it in Canada. I've done it in Brazil, and I've done it in Poland, taking people through that 3-week retreat. It would be easier if you simply stop doing shit. What have you been doing all day? Trying to fix things, haven't you? If you went to work, you were trying to fix whatever your job is to fix, to change it, to make it the way it was supposed to become for the work you do. Maybe you were trying to fix the plumbing, fix the woodwork. All your life, you've been trying to make things better. All your life, you've thought you're not good enough and you've been trying to make you better. Why the hell did you get into meditation in the first place? Like maybe you noticed you were nuts and couldn't quite get behind yourself, and maybe this way you could improve yourself until you weren't quite so damn crazy and self-sabotaging anymore. Maybe. Does that ring a bell for anybody out there? Can I see some head bobbles? Well, did it work?
My ex isn't dead. I actually realize him and see a whole bunch of things and get a different perspective. So yeah, and I did, and then I became softer and kinder to my kids in the way I want.
So to some extent, it worked. Is it done yet? Anybody done yet? Give up. You'll never be done trying to make things better. When we say inherent perfection of all phenomena, we do not mean what you think perfect means. You think perfect means all kind, all smooth, calm, peaceful. Are those the movies you choose to watch? Anybody like me like the kind of movies that 14-year-old boys like? You know, the big shoot 'em up cowboys, whatever, spaceships. Yeah. You don't really want it all. The idea that you think perfect is. You ever get it that way, you're going to be bored silly. The perfection that is referred to when we talk about the all good, Samantabhadra, Kuntuzongpo, the primordial Buddha, all Buddhas of the 3 times, all Buddhas of the fourth time. What we are pointing at with these words is the perfection of the pattern by which all sentient beings become all Buddhas by infinite numbers of stories. What's your story? How you got enlightened? There is one in the fullness of time. All the stories, have you ever read Masters of Enchantment, Buddha's Lions, either one of those? Highly recommend it. It's the stories, the really short, like 2-page stories of all the 84 Mahasiddhas of North India and how they got enlightened. Marvelous stories. You'll have one too. Will have had. I don't have quite the right tense because it exists already. And yet has no actual existence except in a story that you will at some point tell yourself. Because of our strong habits of dualistic perception, which includes trying to fix everything, we obsess with our thoughts, with what we think things are, with how we think things should be, with our judgment of ourself and of others, and with the feelings that arise to ride these thoughts. These thoughts respond to the sensations of the 6 senses. And those arise from karma. This is an analogy. Little pips here are karma. The saw pattern, I'll pass this around in a minute, you can play with it. The saw pattern within your channels that the lung, the chi blows over, that causes sensations. Your reality is the sound it makes. This is a pretty story. As the wind plays over the pips in your channels, it causes sensations. You interpret those sensations with your thoughts, telling yourself a story about them. And then you have feelings about that story. You liked this story, but perhaps it would play something you wouldn't like. And then there goes more feelings. It's just chi playing through your channels. Nothing happened, which was the 16th Karmapa's last words. As he was dying, he looked up at the docks and he said, nothing happens. Here, pass it around and play with it a little. Gently. Your obsession with that, really, it's obsessive compulsive. You're all listening to what you're thinking about what I'm saying. If we were to stop now and take a walk and come back, and I asked you what I'd said, every one of you would have a different answer. You would answer what you thought I said. This really came home to me strongly when I was teaching Mahamudra, and I had everyone find a little pebble the size of the end of their thumb to use as an object of Shine with an object. And we worked with that. And then the next day, or no, some weeks later, I received a question. Apparently, there was a debate in the Sangha what I'd said to do with the pebble when you were done. Some people clearly remembered me saying, take it back where you found it and put it with great respect right back where you found it. Some people remember me saying, throw it into the nearest river or ocean. And some people remember me saying, it doesn't matter what you do with it when you're done. I never said anything about when you're done with it, except remove it from in front of you. And they were quite sure, each one of them was absolutely sure they'd heard these instructions. And so the Sangha came to me after some weeks when some people were no longer working with the pebble, they were comfortable working Shine without an object. And wanted to know which I'd really said. So what really happened? Your ex-husband. What really happened? You'll never know, nor will he. What my teacher meant by all sorts of things. I'll never know why he did that, what he meant by it. Naropa will never know what Tilopa meant unless Tilopa tells him. And he spent those many years following Tilopa around. You know the story. Making up stories about what Tilopa must have meant. And getting himself beat up and fallen off buildings and all sorts of things. Making up stories about what his teacher meant. Last time I saw you all, or many of you, up in North Carolina, and I gave a teaching on Guru Yoga, I tried to communicate this to you. You'll never fucking know what your teacher means by that. I provided you with something that was uninterpretable. Some of you were there. Without a teacher whose job it is to offend you, to push you, to get you to deal with things you would normally run away from, to poke you in the buttons. Without a teacher like that, you would easily fall into the traps of the subtle layers of mind, and you think, now I've got it, as if there was a getter or an it to be gotten. Lama Yeshe gave me a beautiful koan shortly before I left to go to Wangdo Rinpoche with his blessing. His question was, so what do you think? When you get enlightened, guys, there's going to be a first moment of enlightenment, and then maybe there's going to be a second moment of enlightenment. Is the second moment of enlightenment the same as the first moment, or is it different? That's a Tibetan koan. They do have some. So what happens is you get caught up in meditative experiences, very profound ones, almost enlightenment. arhantness, snuffing outness, formless God realmness, great powerness, able to do all sorts of magic manifestationsness. And you don't realize that that's not it. You don't realize that you need to stay open and not grab and maintain what you got. This is relevant to that koan. The inner secrets of the mind taught in Dzogchen have been whispered among the fully awakened masters for centuries in the sacred sanctuaries of the Himalaya. Makes it sound really wonderful and profound, doesn't it? And what happens if some old guy simply walks up to you in the middle of downtown and tells you the nature of mind? You going to hear it? This is all Tulku Tundrup Rinpoche, Tulku Tundrup, that I'm quoting in there. Flipping to the next bit. There we go. For those who are unable to recognize the simplicity, the utter not a thing, ungraspableness of the natural state that is Dzogchen, there's methods. We do teach methods of Dzogchen, but that's Dzogchen light. In my teacher's tradition, Wangdo Rinpoche, we start with pure Dzogchen. We start on the highest level. Maybe you'll get it. Maybe you'll catch it. If not, then we go down a level, try that one, a little bit more. So there are methods taught in 3 Words of Garib Dorji, taught in Flight of the Garuda, taught in Being at Ease with Illusion by Longchenpa. In all of these texts, taught in Yeshe Lama. But these are more or less Rushens. They're not real Dzogchen. What Keith calls radical Dzogchen, and what I just call real Dzogchen, the base Dzogchen, they're Dzogchen light. Do not become attached to them. An example, all phenomena arises in mind. There is no phenomena that does not arise in mind. You've heard this frequently, probably. It is a temporary holding pattern that you're taught in Dzogchen light. What mind? Where? There is no difference between mind and phenomena. So how can it arise in? Everything is released by the recognition that everything is the intrinsic creativity of pure presence. Apparently, we are having transmission problems. If this is heard by the people out there, bear with us. So just sit there. Look out from behind your own eyes. Feel out from behind your own fingers. Or tactile out. Feel what your yi is currently experiencing. Taste the inside of your mouth. Somebody play the music box. And then pass it back up. Winds of karma blow through the channels, causing experience. Causing sensation interpreted by those same patterns. Causing feelings about the interpretation, not about the sensation. What's the difference between excitement and fear? A word, a name? What's the difference between a god and a demon? Maybe the same, whether you like their agenda. If their agenda is to eat you, you call it a demon. If you think you can get what you want out of it, you call it a god. Offer it flowers and cookies. For as long as, in the 3 words of Garib Dorji, which I'm sure you've all had, there is a view, a viewer, a meditation to be done, and a doer to do the meditation, and an expected result called the conduct, which is not something you're supposed to do. It's something that naturally occurs. And when it does, you'll notice that it never didn't occur. It was there from the very beginning. It was always like that. The thoughts arise. The thoughts dissolve. They're not made of any substance. You can't set your cup down on them. They have no duration, each little bitty num. You stick them together into stories with talk, but then they're nam talk. Do Buddhists have nam talk? Another koan. The answer is not yes, and the answer is not no. There's nothing bad about thinking, feeling, sensing, altogether making a clump of called perception, which when a bunch of them go in a row are called experiences. There's nothing bad about experiences. You are an experience. Right now, you're not having an experience, damn it. You are an experience. Nothing more, nothing less. Interactive, interpenetrating with everybody else, including your biome. K-RIM, path of accumulations. You apply effort to cultivate it. Oh, how to say this? Apply effort to cultivate the K-RIM approach to Buddhahood, but allow not even a whiff of aspiration to arise regarding pure presence of Rigpa. Look out from behind your own eyes. That's it. It never goes away. Even when you're dead, it still experiences, because it is the nature of awareness to have objective awareness. Awareness is made of objective awareness, infinitely open and empty. So when you contemplate Tawa, we're going to step a little bit into method here. When you sit with your channels in alignment, your eyes in, you focus your eyes 2 meters in front of your nose, and then you let go of point focus. You let the thoughts run, but you don't pay them no never mind. The same for the feelings, the same for the sensations. The experiencer of that is Rigpa. It's no different. It's not a different Rigpa than the experiencer of enlightenment. And enlightenment is not an experience. I think I just didn't make quite enough sense. So let's get a quote from Pema Rigsal. This pure presence, this Rigpa, this awareness, awakeness, is primordially free of conceptual elaboration, even if you conceptually elaborate it, which many people like to do, scholars. Nonetheless, those concepts have no solidity nor duration. They can't bother it. They have absolutely no effect on it. There was never anything there as a concept. Concepts aren't really there. If they were, you could grab one and pass it on up here. You could play catch with it or juggle it or do something with it, and you can't, because there's no thing there. This pure presence, this awareness, which is neither aware of a specific thing nor not aware of all specific things, free of conceptual elaboration, because there's never been such a thing as conceptual elaboration. This is the mind of all Buddhas. Putting any effort into purifying it, improving it, adulterating it by concepts, trying to fix it, tends to conceal its nature and is counterproductive. Leave it like it is. It's just fine. You don't have to do anything to it. The obscurations are all transparent anyway, so how can they bother you? Abandon all effort. Deductive reasoning, speculative concepts. Let go. Look, during formal contemplation, when you're sitting, channels aligned, you're sitting there, you've been there long enough to stop nattering at yourself. You're sort of trancy. Happiness and sadness aren't a problem, but then you get up. They're right there like before. Because you have put them aside rather than seen them for what they are. This is why Gom, the second word of Garib Dorji, is all about watching the thoughts arise and vanish. Don't listen to what the figures, little friggin' buggers say. Who cares what they say? Watch them do that while watching tawa in which they do that. At some point, by your own experience, it will become obvious to you that they ain't a problem, that they ain't even there really. But that's something you really can't take my word for it. You got to actually see it. And you got to see it while all sorts of weird shit goes down. That's why, at all times and on all occasions, recognize the already known Dharmakaya nature of mind, the emptiness of phenomena. When we say Dharmakaya, we refer to the emptiness of phenomena. When we say Sambhogakaya, we refer to the vitality, the aliveness of that very emptiness of phenomena. It's empty, but it's not a big dead old nothing. Vibrant and alive. And when we say Nirmanakaya, we would refer to the creativity of that vital, alive emptiness, which is what phenomena is. And there's no separation in those three. But as long as you stand separate, you as a being looking at tawa separated, it won't work. You can't stand there as you. You got to stand there as the alive vitality called Rigpa awareness. You, which looks out from behind your eyes, not whose eyes. All your eyes, every eye, everywhere. That very awareness sees the empty nature of all the arisings as the same thing. Or in Mahamudra, if any of you are practicing Mahamudra, yoga of dancing stillness. You will fool yourself without a teacher to bother you. And if you do have a teacher, they will bother you. I'm not saying the teacher is going to try to bother you. You will bother yourself with the teacher. If you create enough intensity, you will have intense stories. You'll make them up. Your pips flowing through. Where's my music box? Supposed to come back up here. Ah, thank you. All right. The pips stimulating the chi as it flows, making a story according to your personal habitual stories. Do you make happy stories? I make grouchy stories. I'm terrible grouch. Remember, she used to laugh so hard about my grouchy stories. Some people make happy stories. Some people make they're being mean to me stories, victim stories. Not every story you make, but you're going to tend there. Some people make hero stories where they're always the hero saving others. Nam talk. None of them are real. So it doesn't matter what stories arise in your mind. You don't have to believe them. It's like believing everything you read on the internet. So you project onto your teacher. You choose to make the story that they're a Buddha. Now we're back in method. If you can hold that story in spite of what they do, then you will receive the blessings of a Buddha. You get to choose the story because none of them are real. For those unable to remain in the natural state, just this, that is Dzogchen, we teach methods of striving for it. Even though you practice in a graduated progressive mode, you're still aware that you're going to eventually get over that. So the awareness is based on Dzogchen. We're just doing a little K-rim to get there, a little Dzogchen light. And that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Dzogchen light. If you're sick, you take the right medicine. And the nature of sentient beings is to be mentally ill with OCD. We are obsessively, compulsively obsessed with what we think, the sensations we experience, and the feelings that arise about the stories we make about the sensations we experience. We're totally obsessed with phenomena. I mean, after all, what'd you do all day? You mucked about with phenomena, right? Nothing wrong with phenomena. Don't try to make it go away. Don't get the idea that phenomena is bad. You could say, oh, is creativity bad? Well, culturally, the Tibetans would say yes, but let's not go there. Creativity is what mind does. Why would you want to stop it? Just stop taking it so damn seriously. Those who cannot abide in effortless Dzogchen are taught the path of endeavor that requires exertion. And they will also get over it eventually. And it will be part of their story. Stories are fun to have. Don't you enjoy stories? So you get to have a story too. And if the story is about trying hard to practice and working your butt off practicing, great story. Go read Buddha's Lions, Masters of Enchantment, 2 translations of the same text. An expensive one, Masters of Enchantment, as a coffee table book with really nice illustrations and, really pretty. And a cheaper one called Buddha's Lions is just a book. It's hardcover, but still. In fact, there may be a copy in the library back there. Would someone take a look? Okay, so maybe, I don't know if you guys lend stuff from the library, do you?
Sure.
So it can make the circle and get read. More words are not going to make this clearer. Tomorrow we'll talk about Dzogchen light. How to to recognize the innately natural state that has always been there from beginningless time, cannot be lost, need not be found. Just stop poking at it and trying to make it into something else, and it'll be quite obvious when it is. And there can't be a bit of on purpose in that. Are there questions? Do I tell you my story? So, as you know, I was Wangdo Rinpoche's translator for probably about 50 years, which meant both living with him in the caves for 8 years maybe in the beginning, and then traveling around the world with him any number of times for the next, I guess, 40 years. And I didn't get it. Doing this, I guess, can't say an exact date because I didn't write anything down, and my hair is white and all the memories have turned white too. But at some point, traveling, translating, receiving teachings on his favorite text, which was the 3 words of Garib Dorji, 3 words that strike the heart by Garib Dorji, hundreds and hundreds of times, and translating it and mind linking with him to translate. I didn't get it. So finally, after about 30, 40 years of didn't get it, I decided I just wasn't going to get it. It wasn't going to happen. It was not going to go in. I love Dzogchen. I loved Dzogchen from the beginning, but I wasn't capable. So I gave up, and I simply decided to be the best translator I could so that maybe somebody else that he was teaching to would get it. And very shortly after that decision was made, it went in. And then he started calling me Lama Lena and falling off his throne, laughing. Who would have thought it? How could it possibly be? Lena? Thought it was almost as funny as me robbing banks. Now, questions. You got to have some.
I have a question about how do you logistically organize your life in the scope of Dzogchen, which I know doesn't make
You
sense.
don't.
But nonetheless, here we are, and we have choices like, do I sit? Do I work? Do I this?
You don't have to choose.
But how do you not choose?
Okay, so until the flow is obvious and there's no one there making choices, and free will was a silly idea anyway, because all Buddhas of the 4th time are all Buddhas of the 4th time. So who's going to do what choice? Who's choosing? There's nobody in there. There's just a pattern and it's flowing. And all those words I just said to you are extremely inaccurate. Don't take them literally. I'm pointing at something. Can you see which way I'm pointing? Hey, y'all, point at her shawl, her Zen. Everybody. Are you all pointing in the same direction? You all pointing at the same thing? So until that makes sense, practice the 6 paramitas for the sake of others. That's your key. But understand them clearly. Generosity is just not just giving stuff away. Generosity of speech is giving away words that will cause open relaxation. Digpa, constriction of speech, is giving away words that will cause others to feel tenser and stressed. Did you see how your feeling changed when I changed my expression at you? Buddha's lions, he's got it in his hand. So, generosity of mind is the key. Since you don't know what's happened, assume the best. That doesn't mean don't lock your car door if you're in a city. Assume the best. When somebody cuts you off in traffic, assume that they have a very good reason for being in such a hurry. Maybe they just got a call from the hospital that their kid's there. You don't know. Assume the best. Rest with patience. Emotionally patient, not just, I'm being patient. Rest with, that's a story Rinpoche used to tell of some guys walking around the lake, sees a guy sitting beside the lake, all, proper. He says, oh, wow, you're practicing really hard. What do you practice? I'm practicing patience. And the guy said, you idiot, you eat shit. And the guy says, who eats shit? Just checking up on his patience meditation. That's a compass story. The point being, you got to practice it with body, speech, and mind. So instead of flipping them off or saying to your companion, that idiot, or even thinking, stupid motherfucking full of himself white guy, what you do is you think, oh man, he's in a hurry. Gee, I hope he makes it on time. You see what you just gave there? How do you feel now compared with how you felt then?
Better, but to what extent does that go? Like,
As far as you can take it without sabotaging yourself with it. Lock the door. If you were to leave your car unlocked in the middle of downtown, you would be sabotaging yourself and someone else. The person who couldn't resist the temptation and might not have broken the window to get the 50 cents sitting on your dashboard for parking meters. So, as far as you can take it without sabotaging yourself with it, look what you made me do. Do you see what I mean? You gotta be utterly self-honest to practice these. You know the look what you made me do after you sabotage the practice. So that's what I'm warning you about. Because you know what's going to happen if you do that and you get all hurt? Teacher's going to sit there like Wangdo Rinpoche would sit with me going, you fell for it, didn't you? Because that's a Tibetan sense of humor. Like Tilopa with Naropa, very Tibetan sense of humor. Morality has more to do with feeling what Gewa and Digpa is than it does with following a set of rules. Will this action cause stress or relieve stress in the big mandala? Gewa causes more open-minded, open-heartedness. Digpa causes stress. So you make your choices in morality, situation by situation.
And then what do you do if you're facing a really big one and you really can't tell?
Example,
Having a kid.
whether you should or you shouldn't.
Absolutely.
I would self-examine. I would look and see why I wanted a kid.
What if you don't want a kid, but someone else does and you're trying?
Then they could have a kid with somebody else
But if it's too late for them,
to have a kid.
yeah.
Well, look, there's plenty of kids in the world. They're not hard to get without having one yourself. Rinpoche used to call them samsara seeds, babies. Oh, look, she's got one of those samsara seeds, poor thing. So I'm slightly biased on the subject. The number of times when I tried to explain to him about contraceptives and no, he didn't have to worry about me if I was out for the night or the weekend or something. Because he was always, that was his worry. You're going to come back pregnant and fuck it all up. I think it would be perhaps a problem to have a baby if you didn't want one. It's hard on the baby. If someone else wants one, but they can't have one, get someone else to give them a baby. You could do an open adoption from someone who has gotten themselves pregnant unintentionally and doesn't want to raise the baby. Open adoption means they can be auntie, which is nice.
I'm very rapt about this. I need to figure out how to get that back.
This is going to sound weird, but sit in Dzogchen and don't think about it.
That is easy. It's the getting up that things get challenging. Like sitting, no problem.
So what's the difference between getting up and sitting for you?
Because when I get up, I have to make decisions.
No, you don't.
How does this work?
You just don't change what you're doing when you're sitting. Keep it the same. Oh, yeah, I remember Rinpoche did this to me once. This was early on. You want a story that maybe influences it? So I had a belief system that in order to decide what to do about something, I had to have some idea what it was. So as it happened, I had just built a new cave farther up, all by itself. I wanted the privacy. The cave he'd originally given me was kind of down in near a lot of other caves, so it wasn't super private. And I'd gone way up the top and built a new little cave, which was exactly the size of my gom tree, which, you couldn't lie down in it or stand up in it, but I could sit in my gom tree, and I lived in my gom tree anyway. I could have my little fire, reach it from the gom tree. Everything was right there. And nobody could get in there really with me, not very well. So my cave didn't have a very good door. And I don't think I had a lock for it at that time. I just built it and built up the walls. I'm not even sure I had a door on it yet. Certainly I didn't have a window in it, or just a hole. So this something started coming at night and trying to have sex with me. It was either a crazy sadhu, Indian sadhu, or it was some kind of demon. It would come every night. And what the fuck? So I go to Rinpoche. Is it a demon or a sadhu? Is it a man or a demon? I know what to do about men. You punch them in the nose or kick them in the nuts. And I know what to do about demons. You do an exorcism puja. But how do I decide which of these things to do if I don't know which it is? And he laughed and said, focus. I said, but what can I do? I really got to get some sleep. And this thing is like all over me. And he says, well, just sit in a full lotus in Dzogchen all night. So I did. I'll tell you, when you're in a full lotus in Trekcha, nobody can rape you, but they can fucking bother you. So, it would get some of my clothes off and not all of them. And it was really annoying. Rinpoche, oh, I'm crying. What do I do about this? He says, well, you can move back down to the cave you had before. Women don't go live alone in caves like that. No. He knew me. Total feminist butch. Don't cut me any slack for being a girl type person. She says, well, so this is going on. It went on for 2-3 weeks. I'm getting no sleep. I ask everybody I know. Some people tell me it's a demon. They're sure. Some people tell me it's a guy. They're sure. Rinpoche won't answer my question. What the fuck is it? This goes on. And finally, Rinpoche, I hadn't gotten full Dzogchen yet, so that wasn't working because I wasn't good enough at it. It wasn't real Trekcha. It was more like Shine I sat in. So finally, Rinpoche takes pity on me. He says, okay, you're not getting it. You haven't been doing Dzogchen long enough for this to work. I'm going to teach you Yidam practice. So he taught me Yidam practice. And so I gave me Purba as my Yidam. So I'm doing my Purba sadhana and my Purba practice all night while this thing comes and, tries to get my clothes off. It can't, but it's still coming. And I'm just, okay, I trust my teacher. I'm going to do my Purba practice. After some time of this, a week, 5 days, one night I turned into Purba. I was my Yidam. And I thwapped it with my Purba. And it screamed, vanished, flew away over the trees, and ran away all at the same time. And I'm sitting there going, well, fuck, that worked. I still don't know what the fuck it was. Does that story help at all?
Yes, I still don't know what to do.
Exactly. And I am not going to tell you. I'm going to sit there and laugh at you. Until you actually do your practice. Let go. All those thoughts about what I should do and what I should not do, every last one of them is without substance or duration. You watch those thoughts do what they do while you sit on your cushion. Don't just shine it. Watch them do that. Watch them talk to themselves. Watch them debate while you sit on your cushion. You can do it. Next question.
Skandhas is something I've been looking at.
Wait, say again.
5 skandhas?
5 skandhas. Gotcha.
Skandhas. So it's the process of thought in my book. Form, perceptions, feelings, consciousness, and
Sensation. Story about the sensation. Becoming perception. Feeling about the story about the perception. It's the same thing.
But or you can ignore it.
Ignore what?
The form, the thought.
No, that would be silly.
It depends on how silly the feeling was.
But there you're making a judgment on it. All the feelings, regardless of whether they're silly or seem wise, are the same. Made of the same substance, no substance. In response to the same set of thoughts which make up a story, none of which have any substance or duration. A wise thought and a foolish thought, no difference. And in that comprehension, foolishness arises as wisdom.
Depends on how many thousand times.
They're all reruns. Ever sit Zen? You sit for years facing a white wall. And it's all reruns after the first week. And you get so tired of those thoughts that eventually you let go.
Nothing is good.
Nothing is good?
Nothing is good.
Where did you get that? It's a thought. Why would it be more true than any others?
Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be.
You got to watch them do that. The ones you like and the ones you don't like, the tasty ones and the bitter ones. You got to watch them all do that until you're sure from your own experience and not because I told you so. You got no reason to believe me. You hardly know me.
What about some of these more existential sufferings, like climate change, or the isms that arise, like when there's a collective understanding of trauma, or just let's stick with climate change. If I mean, I could assess and analyze how, how these teachings could approach it, but for my own self, I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
With climate change?
Right.
Yet.
I don't necessarily experience the immensity of it.
Ah.
I do believe it's happened.
No, but where you are right now.
I don't necessarily.
Right.
But I can go there.
You could go to, say, North India where they're dropping like fleas with the hot,
Or even
unseasonal.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm trying to find the question mark in what you're asking me.
That it is my experience that it's not necessarily, I guess the question could be, I'm not experiencing necessarily the trauma of climate change, the trauma of losing my family as a baby, the trauma of,
Mm-hmm.
but it is my trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking for advice in navigating that. Because action would.
You have experienced that. If you remembered a few past lives, you would remember having experienced it. That retreat will next happen in Europe.
That's one.
Past life, it's the one, that's past life is part of it, but it's not the point of it. It's a retreat full of methods that allow you to perceive on a gut level rather than intellectually the interconnectedness of all life. Now, I could also use mushrooms to get you to perceive that, but not here. We'd have to go down to the mycella where it grew. If you want to do that, I'll send you to the shaman. He's qualified to teach you. I'm not on working with certain power plants. However, I have a Tibetan method that does the same thing that the shamans use the mushrooms for, which is to cause you to experientially recognize the interconnectedness of all beings and all phenomena. And it's a very powerful set of practices. I just did it up the bayou down in New Orleans about a month ago. And the next one for that is going to be somewhere in Germany, I think, for about a week. Takes about a week at least. So there are methods of bringing all these experiences more to your gut level recognition rather than your intellectual recognition. I'm still not sure what you are asking me.
Well, I'm probably not clear about the question, but I feel, I consider those things with existential suffering.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. It's existential for you and very personal for those in the middle of it.
Yes, and you know, where does the vow come in? Where does
That's
the-
because you're not feeling the interconnected interpenetratingness. I can't answer your question in words as well as tell you what you could do. I'll probably do it next year down in the bayou.
And then I guess the flow then spontaneous, more clear on action, linking action.
A little bit. You see, usually the bodhisattva we practice is like kids practicing cooking with mud and nutshells and, some sand and stuff for spice. It's not the real thing. And we tend to impose our views with it. I will help you because what's happening with you looks to me like suffering. You might be happier in a pig in shit with that circumstance. But I wouldn't like it, so I'm going to help you get out of it. You see where the judgments come in. To actualize the real bodhisattva, which is part of actualizing shunyata, it is the coming together of yin and yang. It is the empty nature of phenomena and that midpoint energy vitality, which manifests itself as a flavor of warm love or of light. Not loving kindness. Loving kindness is something you do on purpose. This is something you are. Not you practice bodhisattva, you are bodhisattva. So to become aware of that, you have to actually feel that interconnected interpenetratingness rather than simply know about it. That's why all these teachings in words, Does that help answer?
It does. And then
Exactly.
where regular mind would think that. So if the trees are all shriveling up now.
When the dinosaurs died out, a little gerbil-like critter evolved into humanity. Would that have happened if the dinosaurs were still there? Would we have survived the Ice Age as a species without fire? The story of Prometheus. You cannot know. Again, there's a traditional Tibetan story. Once upon a time, there was a man and he found a horse that had no rider, and he brought it home, and it was tame, and it was a really good horse. And he asked around to everybody, is this your horse? And nobody claimed ownership. And everyone said to him, boy, are you lucky. What a wonderful horse you have found. That's worth quite a bit. Boy, are you a lucky guy. And he said, well, maybe. So then later on, his son was riding the horse, and his son fell off and broke his leg. And now everybody said, oh, how unlucky you are that your son has fallen off this horse you found, that this wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't have broken his leg. You very unlucky. And he said, well, maybe. We'll see. And so a little later, a king's army came through recruiting all the able-bodied young men. Of course, his son, laid up with a broken leg, was not able-bodied, so he was not taken away by this army and to die on foreign shores in some fight that nobody cared about. So everybody said, oh, how lucky you are that you found the horse, that your son fell off and broke his leg, that the army didn't take him. And he said, well, maybe, we'll see. And then after another while, a plague came through, and the son died of the plague. And everyone said to the old man, oh, how unlucky you are. If you hadn't found the horse that your son fell off and broke his leg, the army would have taken him, but at least he'd be still alive and he'd have a chance. So there's your answer. We don't know. What is good or bad? Life doesn't go away. Buddha nature doesn't go away. The infinite sentient beings in their various sorts on all the different planets don't go away, regardless of what happens locally here. And perhaps if humanity wipes itself out, we will not do to a species that is just coming into its own what was done to the Native Americans. Because if we find a less evolved, less technologically advanced species out there, we're going to do the same fucking damn thing again. So you don't know. None of us know. Stories. Yes.
During the 30 or 40 years where you didn't get it, were there times when you felt like you did get it?
Oh, for a few days. And then it wore off. Those are nyams. Maybe even for a few months. And then it wore off. Anything you get that you didn't have before is going to go away. So when I say I got it, it's not quite what I meant. Got as in noticed.
Can you talk a little bit about seeing from the back of your back? And how you do that, and maybe
Oh, no, that's not quite. What's your first language? English?
Chinese.
Oh, Chinese. It probably translates poorly. So for those of you out there using a translator, I'm not talking about seeing with the back of your eyes. But when you sit here and you look around, you feel as if you're looking out of your eyes. It's a sensation. The looker, which is made of what it sees, which the looker makes, that whole stringy interconnected bit is Rigpa, the seer. Did that help? So for those of you out there who are translating, I'm trying to get you to get a feeling rather than specifically pointing you to do something. A feeling of being a seer, because we're mostly visible as Homo sapiens, mostly visual. There's a few people that are audio, in which case experience yourself as a hearer or a toucher, depending on how your personal neurological stuff works. Not the experience that the experiencer is experiencing as an experiencer having an experience, but the web of experiencer experienced experience, that whole web, neither singular nor multiple, as awareness. That's what I'm sort of pointing at. So translators, good luck with that into other languages. It won't go exactly.
Is there one Rigpa that everybody shares, or does everybody have their own individual Rigpa?
And
Yeah.
best to get rid of the ors. And one more question, and then I think we're going to call it a night.
So when you're like on your cushion, kind of like just let everything go, and then when you get up and you're like living in your story, I've heard you talk about like respecting the integrity of the story. Is there a certain point that you just like when it starts to translate in your life that choices don't feel makes sense? So when you're sitting and you watch everything go by,
Mhm.
and then when you get up
And you
life is
still
happening,
watch, and you
just
watch it go by.
but you're like, you still have to like do things.
You
just,
don't.
like,
You never did. They can do you.
That's okay. That's kind of what yeah,
They always have, actually.
yeah.
You don't actually make choices. You respond
Right.
according to your pattern. How you respond to something, a stimulus, and how I respond to the same stimulus may be incredibly different.
So is that respecting the integrity of the story?
Yes,
That you're living
respecting the
in?
responsiveness. Don't tramp away the responsiveness. Respond to the story without believing it, if that makes any sense. More on how to do this tomorrow. Now, we've changed the times, guys. Because of when my airplane goes, I'm not going to manage a Sunday morning teaching. So we're going to have 2 tomorrow. Does that work for you all? So the first one is at what time? 11?
Yes.
I don't want to change that because that's too fast for everybody to change. So we'll do 11 to 1 and then 3 to 5, or shall we do 4 to 6? Preferences. 3 to 5, so you can go out in the evening and do your thing? Okay.
And nothing on Sunday?
Nothing on Sunday. However, we were talking about maybe just having a social brunch somewhere or something. We could do that here. I won't be in robes. I'll be like on my way to the airport. If people want to bring coffee and potluck. Or we could go meet at some cafe somewhere that's big enough. Anybody got an idea? I can see you socially on the way to the airport. But we'll complete the teachings and the blessings and hitting you over the head with the vase formalities tomorrow evening.
The only thing would be the zazen at 4 o'clock
On which day?
on Sunday.
Not a problem. I'll be
That's right.
I'm on a plane at 2 or something.
That's right. So you're thinking about around noon or so.
No, I'm thinking of earlier.
Oh, I see. Okay.
A late breakfast, like 10:30, 11. But we don't have to do it here. We can also pick a cafe that we can, go to and. Yeah.
I think it would be easy.
What do you think, Tracy?
There's many people who might be reasonable to do it here.
Well, they might not all want to come.
Who would want to come?
Okay. So it's going to be a bit of a cleanup and we're going to need volunteers and not just the girls.
We are planning on doing the Remo Sock Show fire offering tomorrow and Sunday at 9 a.m.
Okay, so when is that finished on Sunday?
Till we finish our 10.
Okay, let's call this, let's see. Let me just check something, what time that flight is.
4:30, I think we said.
No, I think it's 4. Be at the airport by 2. I think it was earlier. For some reason. No, let's figure it out tomorrow. And you all can think, stop at the grocery store, grab a thing of croissants, whatever you want to do. Make it easy and not too messy and not needing a lot of bowls for soup and that kind of thing. Okay. Gewandi Nyurduda Che Che Sala Gopashu. Do you guys have some other things that you like to do? That thing has been following me around.
Knowledge holders, the chief is the supreme Mekajati, whose sunshine like activity pervade everything. Yes, in the door or wisdom magic of your heart. And Maho, glorious teacher, Yeshiketup, may you live long. Dzogchen is the Dakini's twilight speech, being firm and everlasting. You are the Dakini's primordial sound, gathering the liveliness of space and light. Yeshiketup, may the sublime ones and all those with eyes opened at the end of space watch over you, watch within you, watch as you, watch through you. I pray with the only prayer I know, splendorous protectress of secret mantra, inexhaustibly protecting all in the blazing expanse of luminosity, ripe with the splendid fruit of benefit to all. May your fortunate disciples shine forth abundantly, subsuming all words, singing songs of glittering auspiciousness. Your flavorful essence of unmistaken wisdom, its marvelous nectar directly quenching all thirst right here, being the great comfort of living what you teach.
Take this piece of it to heart as you, not me. All those with the eye opened at the end of space, the end of time. Watch over you, watch within you, watch as you. Watch through you. Feel all Buddhas watching as you, through you, within you, without you, everywhere and nowhere. Accept your presence among all Buddhas of the fourth time. You have always been there, beyond the time-space continuum. You always will be, unborn, undying. You, not your personality, real you. Can you feel it? This is where Guru Yoga and Bodhisattva arise as the same thing. For all Buddhas of the fourth time, all Buddhas of the three times, past, present, and future, arise from all sentient beings of the three realms. You cannot love all Buddhas without loving all sentient beings. They're the same thing. You are the same thing. Trust that, know that it is so. Whether method is still required to fully recognize that or not, trust that it is so. We are complete for tonight. Can I leave stuff set up for tomorrow? Yeah, share it all out. It's offering to the Buddhas, which is all of us. Do you ever do a Amatara altar here with the 2 rows of offering bowls? It's a nice symbolism. Usually, would then put a cloth on line cloth or something, and put the Buddhas on.